Story 1. Not everything is a lesson. Sometimes you just fail. Dwight Schrute. Story 2. This will be funny later. It got me through a military career. Story 3. Only accept criticism from people whose advice you would also take. Story 4. You cannot keep blaming yourself. Just blame yourself once and move on. Homer Simpson. Story 5. My serious one is from Oscar Wilde. We are all in the gutter, but some of us are looking up at the stars. My second favorite is Robin Williams. Never pick a fight with an ugly person. They have nothing to lose. Story 6. I may not have always gone where I intended to go, but I think I have ended up where I needed to be. Douglas Adams. Story 7. You still have not met all the people who are going to love you. Story 8. I made a list of quotes that stood out for me when I read Seneca's Letters from a Stoic. These are a couple of my favorites. You know what wine or honey wine tastes like. It makes no difference whether 100 or 1,000 flagons pass through your bladder. All you are is a strainer. As it is with a play, so it is with life. What matters is not how long the acting lasts, but how good it is. You will die not because you are sick, but because you are alive. There are times when even living is an act of bravery. Story 9. I felt good before and I will feel good again. Pretty simplistic, but it works. I got it from the most depressed person I have ever been close to. Story 10. A quote from Theodore Roosevelt. Do what you can, with what you have, where you are. Story 11. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over announcing your place in the family of things. Mary Oliver. Story 12. I may be intoxicated, but tomorrow I will be sober and you, my dear, will still be unattractive. Story 13. When things get tough, I often remind myself, one day at a time, to stay grounded and keep moving forward. Story 14. You have enemies? Good. That means you have stood up for something sometime in your life. Winston Churchill. Story 15. When things are tough and feel out of control, I think of Gandalf. But that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given us. Story 16. Do not get in the pit with pigs. They will love it and you will feel dirty. Story 17. It is possible to commit no mistakes and still lose. That is not a weakness, that is life. Jean-Luc Picard. Story 18. Even the darkest night will end, and the sun will rise. Les Miserables. Story 19. If you compare yourself with others, you may become vain or bitter, for there will always be greater and lesser persons than yourself. Desiderata. Story 20. My life has got to get better. After all, I am the main character. Story 21. You are not going to feel like this forever. You will get through this, you always do. Story 22. This is a rat race, but I am no rat. I am a turtle. Ninja Turtle. So which one is your favorite? I like Michelangelo. Story 23. It is not about you, I remind myself, when someone is unnecessarily unpleasant. Story 24. What is meant for me will always choose me. What is the best that can happen? Story 25. I think we become whoever would have saved our younger self. This helps me remember how I became the woman I am and gives me perspective during times of self-doubt. Story 26. Feelings are not facts. You might feel like an imposter. You might doubt your capabilities. You might feel self-conscious and believe you are awkward. You might feel fearful that your boss is angry with you, even if they have not said so. You might feel worried that no one likes you. You might feel doubtful that you are worthy of love. You might feel certain that you are unattractive. You might feel hopeless about the future. There might not be any evidence at all that these things are true, and yet your feelings seem, in your own mind, to be facts. They are not. Notice your negative feelings, get curious about them, and then dismiss them as non-factual. Story 27. Today, a young man on acid realized that all matter is merely energy condensed to a slow vibration. We are all one consciousness experiencing itself subjectively. There is no such thing as death. Life is only a dream, and we are the imagination of ourselves. Bill Hicks. Story 28. Les Brown. Don't let someone else's opinion of you determine your reality. You have greatness within you. As a teacher, I had this on my whiteboard every day. I was happy to see a few students over the years copy it into their notebooks, even though it was my own personal reminder, too. Story 29. I am somehow less interested in the weight and convolutions of Albert Einstein's brain than in the near certainty that people of equal talent have lived and died in cotton fields and sweatshops. This always puts things into perspective regarding the notions of achievements and greatness. Story 30. If you look for the light, you can often find it, but if you look for the dark, it is all you will ever see. Uncle Iroh. Story 31. Such a liberated spirit stands in the midst of the cosmos with a joyous and trusting fatalism, in the faith that only individual events may not be accepted, and that all is redeemed and justified in the whole. Nietzsche, Twilight of the Idols. Story 32. Sometimes while chasing happiness, we forget to take a moment and enjoy ourselves. Story 33. You have survived 100% of your bad days so far. You will survive this one too. Story 34. Of course I am crazy, but that does not mean I am wrong. Robert Anton Wilson. Story 35. How do you eat an elephant? Cut it into bite-sized chunks, one bite at a time. Story 36. If you want to shine like the sun, you have to burn like it. My grandfather always used to say. Story 37. It takes courage to grow up and become who you really are. E. Cummings. I have never felt more like myself and more comfortable with it than I do nowadays. Story 38. To quote Tom Hanks's Forrest Gump, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Also, from the same film, stupid is as stupid does. Another quote I often use, from the late great Bruce Lee, never take your eyes off your opponent, even when you bow. I use that all the time in my martial arts training. And to quote the great Sir Patrick Stewart, also known as Captain Jean-Luc Picard, make it so. When I want someone to do something, when things go wrong, as they frequently do, I act like a white version of Kenan Thompson and shout, "Why?" Story 39. Do not spoil what you have by desiring what you have not. Remember that what you now have was once among the things you only hoped for. Do not fear the gods. Do not worry about death. What is good is easy to get, and what is terrible is easy to endure. Both by Epicurus. Story 40. If you have one foot in the past and one in the future, then you are wasting today. Story 41. If there ever comes a day when we cannot be together, keep me in your heart. I will stay there forever. Winnie the Pooh. I am sorry for your recent loss. Stay strong and cherish the memories you have. Story 42. I will not say, do not weep, for not all tears are evil. Gandalf from Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. Story 43. Sometimes it is the smallest decisions that can change your life forever. Felicity. Story 44. This too shall pass. It is simple, but it reminds me that no matter how tough things get, they are not going to last forever. It helps me get through rough spots and remember that good times are ahead. Story 45. Someday this pain will be useful to you. Story 46. Not all those who wander are lost. John Ronald Reuel Tolkien. Story 47. To have faith is to be sure of the things you hope for, to be certain of the things you cannot see. Hebrews 11 verse 1. Story 48. The Desiderata Max Ehrmann. Go placidly amid the noise and the haste, and remember what peace there may be in silence. As far as possible, without surrender, be on good terms with all persons. Speak your truth quietly and clearly, and listen to others, even to the dull and the ignorant. They too have their story. Avoid loud and aggressive persons. They are vexatious to the spirit. If you compare yourself with others, you may become vain or bitter, for always there will be greater and lesser persons than yourself. Enjoy your achievements as well as your plans. Keep interested in your own career, however humble. It is a real possession in the changing fortunes of time. Exercise caution in your business affairs, for the world is full of trickery. But let this not blind you to what virtue there is. Many persons strive for high ideals, and everywhere life is full of heroism. Be yourself. Especially do not feign affection. Neither be cynical about love, for in the face of all aridity and disenchantment, it is as perennial as the grass. Take kindly the counsel of the years, gracefully surrendering the things of youth. Nurture strength of spirit to shield you in sudden misfortune. But do not distress yourself with dark imaginings. Many fears are born of fatigue and loneliness. Beyond a wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself. You are a child of the universe no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here. And whether or not it is clear to you, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. Therefore be at peace with God, whatever you conceive him to be, and whatever your labors and aspirations. In the noisy confusion of life, keep peace in your soul. With all its sham, drudgery, and broken dreams, it is still a beautiful world. Be cheerful. Strive to be happy. Story 49. When life knocks you down, get back up, look it in the eye, and politely say, "You hit like a coward." Story 50. You are terrifying and strange and beautiful. Something not everyone knows how to love. Worcestershire. Story 51. This guy once came into the movie theater where I worked and asked for a bag of popcorn soaked in butter. It was like holding a goldfish bag with popcorn floating in it. He promised us he would make it worth our while, and we thought he would probably tip us $5. After we gave him his popcorn, he told us he would share some Taoist wisdom. My coworker and I were excited. Money is great, but knowledge is much better, especially when the person sharing it is so insightful. He leaned in closer and said, "Be where your feet are." Then he thanked us for the free popcorn, walked out the door, and we never saw him again. Thanks, Mushroom Man, I needed that. Story 52. However vast the darkness, we must supply our own light. Stanley Kubrick. Story 53. We suffer more in our own imaginations than in reality. Seneca. Sometimes it is helpful to remind myself that I am making a bigger deal of an issue than it actually is. Story 54. Everything will be okay in the end. If it is not okay, it is not the end. John Lennon. Unless it is finals week, then you are on your own. Story 55. In the absence of truth, there is confusion. This is the essence of truth. Reggie Watts. Story 56. When I see unkind people do well while good people get the short end of the stick, one's position in life can change, one's name and appearance even. What cannot be changed is one's soul. Story 57. Except for death and paying taxes, everything in life is temporary. Story 58. Many fall in the face of chaos, but not this one. Not today. Story 59. One quote I often recall when I need to feel better is by Maya Angelou. You may not control all the events that happen to you, but you can decide not to be reduced by them. It reminds me that even in difficult times, I have the power to choose how I respond and grow from my experiences. Story 60. Keep smiling. One day, life will get tired of upsetting you. Story 61. It could have been worse. I am glad it is not that bad, and soon this will be over. Story 62. Nobody exists on purpose. Nobody belongs anywhere. Everybody is going to die. Come watch television. Story 63. My dad went to anger management because of a court order, and he learned that no one can make you angry. You can only let them make you angry. Story 64. I avoid people who complicate my life more than they add to it. Story 65. This will make you smile a year from now, knowing you made it through. Story 66. What if? It is short and easy. As humans, we tend to lean toward the negative side when considering possible scenarios. For instance, what if I do not get the job, or what if this does not work? My ask is to also consider what if the positive. What if nothing bad happens? What if everything works out? What if the negative people in your life fail at bringing you down? What if the positive works? Story 67. One day at a time sounds superficial, but it reminds me to focus on the things I can tackle today and not worry so much about tomorrow. There are many things beyond your control. Story 68. When I am feeling down and struggling financially, I always think back to my mother saying, "Millionaires commit suicide too." Story 69. It is by going down into the abyss that we recover the treasures of life. Joseph Campbell. Story 70. I have two. It can always get worse. Worrying about the bad things does nothing to fix the bad things. It just prevents you from enjoying the good things. Story 71. The Serenity Prayer. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Story 72. When treading water, teach others to swim. When swimming is exhausting, float a while. When they ask you how you are surviving, tell them you have grown gills. Story 73. The grass is not greener. You just need to water your own lawn and plant some tulips. Story 74. Why not me? I read this in a book, and it helps me when I doubt my abilities and compare myself to other people. Story 75. Sometimes you just have to wait for the storm to pass. Story 76. Be patient toward all that is unresolved in your heart and try to love the questions themselves. Rainer Maria Rilke. Story 77. The one Gandalf told Pippin about death. End? No, the journey does not end here. Death is just another path, one that we all must take. Story 78. That which you manifest is before you. From Garth Stein's The Art of Racing in the Rain. Story 79. When you have a bad day, give up. Go home and sleep. Forget it. Try again tomorrow. Not every bad day can become a good day. Some days are ruined and cannot be fixed. When you have a day that is beyond repair, that is the universe speaking to you, sending you a message. Listen to the universe. Go home. Save your energy. Story 80. My courage is faith. Faith in the eternal resilience of myself. That joy will come back, and hope and spontaneity. I feel that until it does. I must keep my lips shut, my chin high, and my eyes wide. Not necessarily smiling. I have been through hell without whining quite often, and the female hell is deadlier than the male. F. Scott Fitzgerald, The Offshore Pirate. Story 81. Keep moving forward. From Rocky. I have never seen any of the Rocky films, but someone edited his speech over clips of Vegeta, and it stuck with me. I plan on making a similar video for Korra. Story 82. A long time ago in a distant place, I was in some of the worst pain of my life. It was blindingly painful and momentarily brilliant. I legitimately thought I was going to die in that moment, and yet I am alive. Since then, whenever something painful happens, be it physical, emotional, or mental, I just compare it to that pain. Then I tell myself, this is not going to kill me, and I push through. It has helped put a lot of my life in perspective. Story 83. Never be cruel, never be cowardly, and never eat pears. Story 84. If you are having a bad day, just remember that life is like a sausage. Sometimes it becomes difficult for no reason, but it will not stay difficult forever. Story 85. Everything will be okay in the end. If it is not okay, then it is not the end. Story 86. Sucking at something is the first step to being sort of good at something. Jake the dog. Story 87. Life is a short pause between two great mysteries. Carl Jung. Story 88. It is possible to make no mistakes and still lose. That is not weakness, that is life. Captain Jean-Luc Picard. Story 89. You are the youngest you are ever going to be. Latrinalia found outside Chicago. Story 90. There is no greater reward in life than unselfish acts and untainted character. Marcus Aurelius. His journal is basically my Bible. Story 91. This is on the wall above my desk. Brick walls are there for a reason. They are there to stop the ones who do not want it badly enough. Story 92. You have already struggled. You have learned to be challenged, you have been scared, you have struggled, and yet you have come out of it. You have done it before and done it with success. Now go forward knowing you can conquer anything in your path. Story 93. Everything you ever wanted lies just on the other side of fear. Story 94. It's temporary. It's okay to be in a bad mood. One step at a time. After the rain, the sunshine. Story 95. You need to believe in things that are not true. How else can they become? Story 96. I am confident. I am bold. I do not tolerate disrespect from anyone. I smoke my cigar wherever I want. Story 97. This too shall pass. It is a simple reminder that no matter how tough things are, they are temporary and things will eventually get better. Story 98. Their vibration is too low to understand someone like you. Story 99. Yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, but today is a gift. That is why it is called the present. Kung Fu Panda. Story 100. We're all in a world of trouble. Private Pile's Full Metal Jacket. Story 101. I drive by the sticker someone left on a power box. This is not forever. Story 102. One quote that often provides comfort and perspective is, "This too shall pass." It is a reminder that no matter how difficult a situation may seem, it is temporary and things will improve over time. This quote can be especially soothing during challenging moments, helping to maintain hope and resilience. Story 103. Comparison is the thief of joy. If you are always comparing yourself with others, you will not appreciate what you have. Story 104. Always. Enjoyment is fleeting, so grab it with both hands. Life is for loving, so hold that love close. If anyone thinks I am cringe, they must not be having a very good time. I hope they can find a good time soon. Story 105. My mother's favorite. If it does not kill you, it will make you stronger. Story 106. It's not the end of the world, dude. My mom tells me a lot as I act like every minor disturbance is literally the end of the world. Either it helps and I chill out or I say, whatever, this is awful, and act like it is the end of the world. Story 107. It might be childish, but Finding Nemo was my comfort movie. So whenever I am anxious or overwhelmed, I tell myself, just keep swimming. Story 108. Don't take it personally, it's just their personality disorder. My therapist. Story 109. You are so much stronger than you think you are. Trust me. All-star Superman. Or, you have to keep breathing. From Cast Away. Story 110. Pain is a normal and necessary condition. Happiness is negative because it is just the absence of pain. Story 111. It could always be worse. There have been, and more than likely will be, worse times in my life. Even though some things might not be working out, I might as well appreciate the things that are. Story 112. Acceptance is the answer to all of my problems today. Lost time is never found again. Story 113. Here they come again, worming their way into the black matter of my brain, but I tell myself they cannot touch me. Story 114. Life only throws at you what you can handle, and if you believe that, you can handle anything and everything. Story 115. The Serenity Prayer helps keep things in perspective and reminds me that I cannot control everything. Story 116. Not my loss. I don't know if it helps me get rid of the scarcity mindset. Story 117. Not a quote, but I often remind myself that comparison is the thief of joy. Story 118. If 2 shots make you feel good, then 4 shots will make you feel better. Story 119. My granddad used to say, stuff happens, then you die. I've always taken it to mean that things will always happen and will keep happening until we're gone. So we may as well make the best of it and move forward. He passed away 2 years ago, and when I really miss him, I follow up with, but not for you, old man, which usually gives me a bit of a chuckle since he and I would joke around that way a lot together. Story 120. It gets worse before it gets better. It always gives me hope. Story 121. No good sitting and worrying about it. What is coming will come, and we will meet it when it does. Hagrid. Story 122. The whole world is against us. Dude, I swear to God. Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. It is not as wholesome as the other quotes here, but it makes me smile. Story 123. While Hikari is not a user of the reverse curse technique, his domain expansion, Idle Death Gamble, allows him to use infinite cursed energy to reverse any damage his body sustains. In other words, in the 4 minutes and 11 seconds following a jackpot, Hikari is effectively immortal. Story 124. 5 years ago, none of this mattered. Give it more time to see what is true. Story 125. Then either way you look at it, you have your fits, I have my fits, but feeling is good. From Banshee Beat by Animal Collective. Story 126. Life before death, strength before weakness, and journey before destination. Dalliner Colin. Brandon Sanderson. Story 127. Better a smart fellow than a foolish one. It doesn't make me feel better in a significant way, but it always makes me chuckle. Story 128. Come what may, time and hour run through the roughest day. Macbeth. Story 129. The only thing that could be bad is to take it seriously. Alan Watts. Story 130. Persuade yourself that imperfection and inconvenience are the natural lot of mortals, and there will be no room for discontent or despair. Tokugawa Ieyasu. This is a strong quote that I repeat to myself every day. Story 131. Nothing new under the sun, every iteration, problem, or interaction has happened before in some variation. Story 132. A quote I often recall is, "This too shall pass." It is a reminder that no matter how tough things get, they are temporary and change is always on the horizon. Story 133. If God brings you to it, he will bring you through it. Story 134. Not every day is good, but there is something good in every day. Story 135. Ships are safe in the harbor, but that is not what ships are built for. Story 136. Just because the sun goes down does not mean it will not rise again. Story 137. لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Allah does not burden a soul beyond what it can bear. Story 138. In 50 years you will be dead. In 100 years you will be completely forgotten. This reminds me not to take things too seriously, especially myself. Story 139. I wonder if a fall from this height would be enough to kill me. Story 140. At least I have a roof over my head. That is what I say. Story 141. Be yourself and be proud because you can do what you want to do. Story 142. I have a couple. I did not come this far to only come this far. And the only way forward is forward. Story 143. As long as you are alive, there is hope, but all who are dead remain dead. Story 144. With great power comes great need to take a nap. Wake me up later. Story 145. Courage does not always roar. Sometimes courage is the quiet voice at the end of the day saying, I will try again tomorrow. Mary and Radmacher. Story 146. But first they must catch you. All the world will be your enemy. Prince with 1,000 enemies, but first they must catch you. Be cunning and full of tricks, and your people shall never be destroyed. Story 147. 20 years from now, no one will care. 100 years from now, no one will remember. Story 148. Some are born excellent, some achieve excellence, and some have excellence thrust upon them. You can substitute excellent for other words depending on the situation. Story 149. It's just a phase. This helped a lot when raising my 2-year-old through the newborn and young infant stages. Teething, gas, colds, diaper rash, growth spurts, it won't last forever. It's just a phase they're going through. Story 150. Not all who wander are lost. This quote makes me cry sometimes, thinking about how there is hope in everything and everywhere. Story 151. Life is like a box of chocolates, you never know what you are going to get. Story 152. There is what is right, and there is what is right, and never the two shall meet. Story 153. Driving is not the only thing. I think you should leave. Story 154. You have to go through hell before you get to heaven. Steve Miller. Story 155. If you are holding out for universal popularity, Hagrid, you are going to be in this hut a very long time. Story 156. It is not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change. Story 157. When I'm at work, I think, no wonder I can't get anything done. I'm surrounded by difficult people. Story 158. It will all be okay in the end. If it is not okay, it is not the end. Story 159. No matter how straight the gate, or charged with punishments the scroll, I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. Invictus by William Ernest Henley. Story 160. If I run out of power today, I'll just borrow some from tomorrow. The moment you think of giving up, think of the reason why you held on so long. Both said by Natsu from Fairy Tale. Story 161. No one can make you feel inferior without your consent. Eleanor Roosevelt. Story 162. Take it one day at a time. If not that, then 1 hour at a time. Story 163. It's not life or death. It's just yoga. In context, I was in a yoga class, and the teacher said this to remind us to meet our bodies where they are and not be hard on ourselves if we needed to use modifications. But it has always stayed with me as a reminder that most things in life don't need to be stressed over, and that being flexible will take you further than reaching for perfection. Story 164. Great things happen to those who do not stop believing, trying, learning, and being grateful. Roy T. Bennett. Story 165. Love the Ojibwe saying featured in The Sopranos. Sometimes I go about in pity for myself, and all the while a great wind carries me across the sky. Story 166. I was in a situation where I thought it was bizarre that of all the people there, I was the only one acting with any common sense. When I mentioned this to someone, she told me, "You are not your mental illness." Story 167. It is only a matter of time until this is over, and it is only a matter of time until I die. I said that. Story 168. The sun doesn't shine on the same dog's ass all the time. Catfish Hunter. Response to press after a bad start following his perfect game. Story 169. No one can make you feel a certain way without your permission. Not sure who said it, but it is good. Story 170. There is some good in this world, Mr. Frodo, and it is worth fighting for. Lord of the Rings, Sam Gamgee. Story 171. I know it is mean, but whenever I used to get a bad grade, I told myself that it is not that bad and that there are more foolish people out there. I know this sounds arrogant, but it cheered me up. Child me was a meanie. Story 172. You have all the weapons you need. Now fight. Sucker Punch. Story 173. You are worth more than you know, capable of more than you think, and loved more than you can imagine. Story 174. There is some good in this world, and it is worth fighting for. Story 175. It gets easier. You have to do it every day. That's the hard part. But it does get easier. Story 176. Be happy while you are living because you are a long time dead. Story 177. Gracias a la vida que me ha dado tanto. Thank you, life, for giving me so much. Story 178. One step and then the next gets you where you are going. Robert R. McCammon, Swan Song. Story 179. Do not look back, you are not going that way. Ragnar Lothbrok. Basically, stop dwelling on the past. Keep moving forward. Story 180. Sometimes you climb out of bed in the morning and you think, I am not going to make it, but you laugh inside, remembering all the times you have felt that way. Charles Bukowski. Story 181. Thank you, God, for the fleas. From The Hiding Place by Corrie ten Boom. It is a true story of a family who hid Jewish people in Holland. They were arrested and taken to a concentration camp. Story 182. I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. And when it has gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain. Frank Herbert, Dune. Story 183. You can have it all. You just cannot have it all at once. Story 184. I have two. All is well and I am safe. I can do hard things. Story 185. Perhaps you love something and it is bad for you, and perhaps you hate something and it is good for you. Verse from the Quran. Story 186. Rest if you must, but do not quit. From Do Not Quit by Edgar Guest. Story 187. In the Audie Murphy story, his buddy says, "Let's go, Murphy. They can kill us, but they cannot eat us. That is against the law." Story 188. I have my own quote. I hate this. I need to make sure I never feel like this again. I'm going to fix it. If I am financially worried, I make a game plan for when I am in a better state and then adhere to it. For example, I lost my job, my car broke down, I made bad choices, and racked up lots of credit card debt. I got a new job and attacked my debts. A few years later, the same thing happened. It sucks. But I was better prepared and did not feel like I did last time. If I am always sick and feeling unwell, I cannot prevent all sickness, but I can make sure I exercise, get rest, eat well, and take care of myself. I feel much better, and even when I am stressed out, I reset pretty quickly and make a point of being at my best possible. So far, it has been working great. Story 189. I worked with a guy, we'll call him Carl, who said, "It'll buff out," all the time. It was like his catchphrase. And literally, nothing ever buffed out for this guy. He was pretty much an idiot, a nice dude, but an idiot. He got his high school girlfriend pregnant and had to drop out of college. He was lazy, honestly, and eventually got fired, but not before he almost burned the place down by not putting out a fire he started and ruined a bunch of the business's product by leaving it out to thaw. He half-assed everything. I remember one time we were tasked with painting some metal pipes, and he only painted the tops and sides. "You know," he said with a big wad of dip in his mouth, "ain't nobody gonna look under it. Know what I mean? It'll buff out." Of course, our boss inspected his work, and we had to paint the entire pipe. But he was a friendly, hopeful, happy dude. Not someone I'd want to be friends with, per se. Not the hardest worker, obviously. But he loved his unplanned daughter and wife and just kept on trucking, I guess, trying to do his best with what little God gave him. So now I say, it'll buff out, all the time. First, it was like a joke. But at this point, I truly believe it. If Carl can find it in himself to be halfway hopeful with a life I'd be miserable in, certainly things will buff out for me as well. Story 190. I have gotten through all of my worst days so far and will be fine through anything now. Story 191. Benjamin Button, 2008. I hope you meet people with a different point of view. I hope you live a life you are proud of. If you find that you are not, I hope you have the strength to start all over again. Story 192. There, but for the grace of God, hi. I am always someone in a worse situation. Story 193. Why do we fall? So that we can learn to pick ourselves up. Batman Begins, 2005. Story 194. Not all those who wander are lost. John Ronald Reuel Tolkien. It reminds me that it is okay to not have everything figured out and to just enjoy the journey. Story 195. Whenever I feel inadequate or desire something I cannot have, I always remember what Dostoevsky said. Shower upon him every earthly blessing, drown him in a sea of happiness, so that nothing but bubbles of bliss can be seen on the surface. Give him economic prosperity so that he should have nothing else to do but sleep, eat cakes, and busy himself with the continuation of his species. And even then, out of sheer ingratitude and spite, man would play you some nasty trick. This reminds me that even if I had everything I currently want, I would still be unhappy. Story 196. Though the course may change sometimes, rivers always reach the sea. You will get there. Keep going. Story 197. And knowing is half the battle. No losses, only lessons. Story 198. You are a god among insects. Never let anyone tell you differently. Magneto. Story 199. Only accept criticism from people whose advice you value. Story 200. Something that helped me get through a few really hard moments in my life was stand-up comedy. It was the only thing that was really getting me through it. There is so much hate in the world, but so much love in this room. Story 201. If you were to put your problems in a pile along with everyone else's, you would want yours back. Story 202. A very simple phrase, first taught to me by a New Zealander many years ago. Forget a frustrating situation. It always makes me feel better when I say it, particularly at work. Story 203. It's not worth my energy. I have too much going on recently, and I'm done. I'm irritated today and trying not to let it get to me, but things just keep going wrong. We'll see how the rest of the day goes. Story 204. The literal meaning of life is whatever you are doing that prevents you from killing yourself. Do what prevents you from ending it. It is definitely dark, but that is what keeps me going. Story 205. Courage does not always roar. Sometimes courage is the quiet voice at the end of the day saying, I will try again tomorrow. Story 206. No place is bad if you do not give up. When times get tough, remember who you are. Story 207. The poem Desiderata is a great thing to read when in need of wisdom and guidance. Story 208. It's all a game and everything goes back to the beginning one day. That one day can be 2 hours from now. Let's just relax, take some medication, and chill, man. The Frog. Story 209. My wife was having a hard time at work with egos, which were well justified but egos nonetheless, and taking things too personally. I told her the story of a scene in the Bill Murray movie Meatballs, where he gives a pep talk to the kids in his summer camp just before they have a competition with the super aggressive camp next door. He has them chant, "It just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter." After that, she put a note on her monitor with the word meatballs on it to remind her. Story 210. If every pork chop was perfect, we would not have hot dogs. Story 211. Easy, and kudos to whoever remembers this line. Chin down, you cannot come frowning. Turn around, stop clowning. Think sad, your troubles double. Think glad, they burst like bubbles. Chin up. Story 212. Resentment and complaint are appropriate neither for oneself nor for others. Miyamoto Musashi. Story 213. Listen, smile, agree, and then do whatever you were going to do anyway. Robert Downey Jr. always makes me feel better. Story 214. I do not know the source, but anything worth doing is worth doing poorly. It is helpful when you are in a type of depression where it is hard to shower or brush your teeth. It is better to brush your teeth poorly than not at all. Story 215. Look at all you have done and all you have accomplished. During the coronavirus pandemic, when Steve from Blue's Clues posted that super heartwarming video basically saying how proud he is of everyone and how much his audience helped him. Maybe it is just because I grew up watching him on Blue's Clues, but it really got me. I still watch that video when I am feeling down. Story 216. This is all recoverable. And the song lyric, too young to know it gets better. Story 217. Failure is not fatal. Courage to continue is what counts. Winston Churchill. Story 218. Those who stay, those who go. 2 autumns. This haiku helped me through a very difficult time in my senior year. Story 219. My platoon sergeant said to me when I got the platoon lost, "Don't worry, Lieutenant, things float. We'll get downstream." Story 220. The Man in the Arena by Theodore Roosevelt. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust, sweat, and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs and comes short again and again because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms and great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. Story 221. Go placidly amid the noise and haste and remember what peace there may be in silence. Story 222. In the end, it will be okay. If it is not okay, then it is not the end. Story 223. I just replay Top Gear Dacia Sendero news in my head. It gets better the more you watch it for real. Story 224. Any part of Lou Gehrig's The Luckiest Man speech, really. So I close in saying that I might have been given a bad break, but I have got an awful lot to live for. Thank you. Story 225. David Tennant's Scottish voice as Alec Hardy in Broadchurch simply shouting now. Story 226. Even the darkest clouds will pass. This thought got me through until the next day on more than a few occasions. Story 227. I don't care if the person's name is Beats Goku, with the power Beats Goku, from the anime, That Time I Beat Goku. The person is not beating Goku. Story 228. I am nothing. I will never be nothing. I do not want to become anything. Apart from that, I carry within me all the dreams of the world. Fernando Pessoa. Story 229. With all that is happening in the world today, will this matter in 5 years? Story 230. Kim, there are people who are dying. Kourtney Kardashian. Story 231. Life's a piece of trouble when you look at it. Life's a laugh and death's the joke. It's true. You'll see it's all a show. Keep them laughing as you go. Just remember that the last laugh is on you. And always look on the bright side of life. When I'm down, I remember life can be difficult, but it does for everyone. So just keep people laughing and try to find the bright side of things. My driving goal in life is to keep the people around me laughing, especially during hard times. My wife can attest to that. Story 232. I feel like most of these are motivational. I just make myself laugh with phrases like grape scotch or identity theft is not a joke, Jim. Millions of families suffer every year. Story 233. I don't know why, but whenever I feel anxious, I tell myself, Anakin, no panicking. I don't know why, but it works. I don't even like Star Wars. Story 234. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. Playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. As we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Story 235. Everyone wants a series of mountaintop experiences, but growth occurs in the valleys. Story 236. Scared to go on a scary amusement park ride? Think, trust the machine. It is designed to keep you safe. If it catastrophically fails, you get hurt regardless of whether you trust it or not. Story 237. If you are a lover, then you have to be a fighter, because if you are not fighting for your love, then what kind of love do you have? Keanu Reeves. Story 238. We have to experience bad days to appreciate good days. Otherwise, the good days would not mean as much. Story 239. It might be slightly cringe, but improvise, adapt, overcome. Yes, from the meme. I am a seamstress and sometimes things go wrong, so I have to improvise. Often, I quote the mantra in my head. Story 240. Don't give up just yet, you still have some people to prove wrong. Story 241. There is no problem so great that I cannot make it worse by getting drunk. Anonymous. Story 242. Tomorrow is a new day. After a good night's sleep, things will look different. My dad used to say that when I was a kid and having a mental breakdown over some irrelevant thing. Story 243. Assume no malice when I am worried about other people's feelings towards me. Story 244. All shall be well, and all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well. Julian of Norwich. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.